Hi, this is Eric Dunavant with Dunavant Wealth Group. The Dunavant Wealth Report, January 2012. What a crazy ride it was, and I think we'll all be glad to see 2011 in our rearview mirror. Nothing was more crazier than just kind of the overall volatility in the markets. We saw the overall markets up about 8% by the time we reached April, and when we got to August, things were down 11%. The best performing asset class for the year was in large companies. Didn't do real well, but it was up 2%. But the majority of that was dividends. The worst performing asset class was emerging markets, down as much as 18%. And what's more interesting than that is emerging markets have been one of the better performing asset classes over the last decade. For an economic update, we kind of look at the good, the neutral, and the bad. From a good standpoint, housing starts came in a little bit stronger than they were expected. We had a spike in durable good orders, and jobless claims fell below 400,000 on a weekly basis. That's a really good sign. On the neutral basis, they revised third quarter GDP down just a little bit below 2%. Now, 2% is kind of an important number. That really shows strong signs of growth when we are above 2%. So being revised down kind of has a bad connotation, but when we consider earlier in the summer, it really looked like we were headed towards recession or a real bad slowdown. To know that we got close to 2% actually can make us feel pretty good. And then when we look at the bad, inflation really is starting to show up in the headlines as much as it's shown up for each one of us at the grocery store and in our lives. Producer prices were up 6% and consumer prices were up 3%. So now that we're seeing those headlines, it's certainly something worth watching as we go along. Europe is still kind of a wild card in everything, and what goes on with their debt situation going forward, certainly something we'll be watching in the new year. In this month's news or noise, we all know that news creates emotion, but there's so much emotion right now being played on what's going on with Europe and U.S. and global debt that they're missing one of the bigger stories that are out there in the news. And the story is really kind of on what's going on with S&P 500 companies. You probably wouldn't know it to watch the news, but did you know revenues per share on S&P 500 companies are at new highs, earnings per share are at new highs, profit margins are at 20-year highs, and corporate debt levels are at multi-decade lows. So there's a fight back and forth with what's going on in Europe and then what's going on the actual balance sheets of the S&P 500 companies. What does it all mean? Well, I don't know that it necessarily means anything other than the fact that you can't always believe what you read in the news and know that you're getting the entire story that way. Because what sells in news is the bad news. And so you've got to be able to keep a balanced approach, which is what our job is to do here for you. This month's True Wealth tip: take some time here at the beginning of the year and pull out your beneficiary information. That would be on your insurance policies, your annuities, and your retirement accounts. You probably have a will which designates where you want everything to go, but you may not know that those types of instruments don't pass by will. They only pass by beneficiary. And there are a lot of stories out there about an ex-wife or ex-husband who ended up with a retirement account, or an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend who ended up with an insurance policy when that was not the intention. So take the time to pull those beneficiaries out and get them updated. We'll be doing these updates once a month. If you know anyone who could use this information, would you mind passing it on to them? We'd certainly appreciate it and would look forward to covering any topics that you might be interested in the future. At Dunavant Wealth Group, we take time to pray for each one of our clients every day. And if you've got any specific prayer requests, would you send those in? We would be honored to join you in praying over any concerns that you may have. Thank you so much for joining us this month. We'll see you again next month, and thanks for joining us. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Dunavant Wealth Group, a division of Cardia Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.